This week's coverage is brought to you by Arkanesis, the proud creators of the Nous Flow system. You may have seen some of their boats around the boat park and around the racing arena here at Henley Royal Regatta. That's because they're also the official data providers of British rowing. Coaches love the Arkanesis system. You get live 500-metre splits, you get cadence and all sorts of bits live fed to coaches from the water, and it makes debriefing after a session incredibly efficient and provides you with so many analytics to take forward into future training.
Well, hello everyone, welcome back to the End of the Island podcast with me, Fergus Mainland, on the top of crew inquiries. It's not quite as glamorous as it sounds actually. I've got Zoe de Toledo alongside me, I've got Chris McCarthy alongside me. Zoe, it's Friday, the racing is just sensational. What a day of racing we're having so far, which I feel is the same entrance to this podcast we see every single time.
I think we're going to have to try and mix it up, aren't we?
Yeah, we'll come up with
something. Should we just say, actually, I think it's been really boring today. All those close races, not
trash.
Interesting, nothing good to look at all.
Yeah.
No, I think since we saw the entries come out, we've known that this was going to be a good year. The quality of the international crews, but also the quality of the club racing and the junior scene this year has been spectacular. So it's all coming to a head now, I guess, in the last few days here.
It most certainly is. And Chris, dare we say it, it's shaping up to be perhaps a vintage Henley?
I think, dare we say it? I think so. Every single day has just exceeded expectations ever so slightly and then built day on day, which is what Henley is designed to do, right? It's meant to build day on day, but I think we're starting to see these semi-final matchups start to come to fruition and the draw filling out and the boat tents emptying, and with that, we're starting to see that I think the next 2 days are going to be some of the best that we've seen here at Henley.
Yeah, we should say we've had a couple of technical difficulties. This is the second time we're recording this. So if there are any big cheers that you hear, we're currently stood, I think, right next to the Radley clap out, which is already gigantic. It's massive.
They're not known for being particularly boisterous, are they?
Loud. Zoe's got a big pet peeve against them as well, but we'll not come on to that.
Not Radley, not against Radley.
Not against Radley.
You're going to get me
cancelled.
cancelled.
Zoe de Toledo hates Radley College.
No, she doesn't. She just hates the clap outs.
Oh, no, you're still going to get me cancelled.
Well,
anyway, it's true. I have ranted to everyone about it. It's true.
What we are going to start with, though, what we are going to come on to is the intermediate events, because I think there's a lot to get into and discuss in the visitors, the bridge, the Prince of Wales, the Princess of Wales. So let's start with the visitors, because one of the first races this morning, Leander against Leander, didn't quite go the way it was meant to, did it?
No, and we say it every time, don't we? Oh, another A versus B race. B are going to try their best, and then A are going to row away, and that's all you can do. And then today, they flipped the script and B beat A by a canvas. And they've been close, these two crews, so I don't think it was a huge surprise, but not the anticipated result. So great to see how they go further through the regatta.
But Chris, it's something that we've seen throughout the regatta. It's been a theme, hasn't it? A lot of crews going up against their club mates and teammates.
It has, and I think even more of a thing, we've seen plenty of crews going up against their club mates. We saw Bell and Jesuit quads yesterday. We saw the B crew almost flip the script. I really hate the term flip the script. It sounds very AI, doesn't it? But we saw the B crew almost overturn their A crew. I think the theme, though, is that B, C crews, a lot of programs really showing their depth. We saw the Cambridge B boat overturn Yale yesterday in the island. That was one of my races at the regatta. It's the best race I've ever commentated at the regatta. I had so much fun. We saw the Molesey C boat who took out Sydney in the Wargrave and just looked like a really classy combination, showing off the depth of that program. And we're seeing that across the board where no one's going into a race with a B or a C crew, especially from your Thames, your London, your Molesey, your Leander, and going, oh, well, it's not their top crew. We'll be all right. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. But business was back to usual in the visitors because Nautilus A beat Nautilus C. So everything is as it should be. And right on cue, that's Radley just starting to bolt. I actually don't know if people can hear what we're saying. We're just going to keep nattering away anyway until they die down. But they're probably not going to die down. They're not going to die down until they're probably halfway up the course at some point. But Chris, let's move on to the bridge, because it was new last year, a great addition to the programme. And of course, records are going to topple at some point during the regatta, but goodness me, I mean, it's been exciting, hasn't it?
It has been, and we've had a reasonably dry sort of period. There's not a lot of stream. It's been sunny. There's been a bit of a tailwind a couple of days. We've seen records across lots of events. I sat here last year listing off the records that were tumbling in the bridge, which they were going to. It's the first year, but it was very tit for tat, and it was very interesting then. And this year, I really think the bridge has taken a real step on, because last year those records were falling, and they were very similar times to the Wargrave and the Island. And as much of a great addition as it was, this year it's really come of age, and it's a big step up. And that record that tumbled today, it tumbled yesterday with Leander setting not any of the intermediate records, but the course record in the bridge in their round yesterday. And then today, Yale coming over and just not looking troubled at all. And so beat Leander, who held the record, and with it, nicked that record 5 seconds as well.
Huge.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's
Huge.
massive, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's so impressive.
It's got to give you confidence going into the weekend.
Well, it does. I'm looking at the notes I've scribbled down across the bridge. Thames beat Dartmouth as well. As we said, Yale beat Leander. We've also had the UL Moseley Boat Club Composite. They beat Miami. But yeah, huge record-setting day in the Bridge Challenge Cup. But Zoe, speaking of intermediate events, how exciting, today was the first day of the Princess of Wales Challenge Cup, and the honours of the first race went to the composite of Hartbury and Leander going up against Nearhouse. But what an addition to the programme here at
And that
Henley.
was a great race as well. Again, a canvas, I think.
Yeah, another
very, very
belter.
close. Yeah, really good. And I think those quads races are never to be underestimated. They're obviously extremely fast boats, but you have the jeopardy addition of not having a coxswain steering them. So you've got the potential clashes. There's another really noisy.
It's all great. It's all
That's
kicking.
London
They've got
Rowing
It's
Club.
really
It's
it really
London.
grates
They've
my
got
carrot.
they've Bang the drum. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, Zoe, we rudely
God,
interrupted
I'm so
you.
miserable, aren't I? This is terrible. Have I always been like this?
You haven't. You've been all right.
I
You've
don't
been
know.
all right.
Yes, can't remember what I was saying. Something about quads. Oh yeah, great. No, that race first thing this morning was brilliant. Really tight racing. Both crews look really sharp. You watch them row; they barely look around. They're just heads in, focus straight down the course. Great racing.
Yeah, superb. And speaking of great racing as well, Chris, let's go to the Prince of Wales. Prince of Wales, Princess of Wales. It's lovely to have the two of them so well connected. But Prince of Wales, Oxford Brookes, what about them? First time ever they've got a full Oxford Brookes quad in the Prince of Wales.
Yeah, last time they were in the Prince of Wales was 2018. You think about how much winning Brookes has done since then. 2018 was kind of in the infancy of their dominant. It's not the infancy of Brookes itself, but the infancy of that really dominant stretch that we've seen. And it seems like such a long time ago. Back in the quad, first time, as you mentioned, as a full crew, making it through the weekend at the Prince of Wales, and looking pretty tidy doing it. 2 Dutchmen in there, overturning their countrymen in Scholl, who I had on my fantasy team. Dreadful pick from me. Not as bad as me putting Brookes for the PA, which I think I just got confused and meant to put Oxford, but...
So you've had a bad day.
I've lost, I think, 3 crews in my fantasy. Not been good.
Not good at all.
It's all right, I got Headington for the PP. We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about that one later. But you were able to catch up with the Oxford Brookes crew after their performance against Scholl in the Prince of Wales, and we can hear from them just now.
Brookes sculling, not something that people are super used to. Haven't been in the weekend of this event for I think ever actually, as a one club thing. How did it sort of come about that you were going to race in the quad?
Well, we've been in contact with Brookes for a couple of months now, maybe even half a year. I mean me and my fellow Dutch guy. We both Dutch from Vidar, and basically Brookes has a new head coach, Eddie Brown, and Eddie Brown really wants to do a quad. He used to coach Leander with the quads. And Brookes really is, especially sweeping, but he really wanted to try to give his knowledge of sculling, also give it a try with Brookes.
Yeah. And yesterday and today, kind of how has things progressed? How are those 2 races gone for you?
Well, they went quite all right. I think every day, every single training, every piece we do, we get better. And so we have been training for, I think, a couple of months now, but I think some of the crews who are racing have been together for months, for years maybe. And especially for a club for Brookes, I feel like we're doing quite all right. Also, we really control the races, and that's what I really like about it.
Congratulations to Oxford Brooks. They march on in the Prince of Wales, something we're not all used to seeing here at Henley Royal Regatta, and they'll be joining some of their student and intermediate crews who also advance on into the later rounds of the draw. Let's talk juniors though. We've just had Radley boating. I think Bedford have just boated as well. Zoe, there's been a narrative today. It's been Teddy's against Shiplake, and it's the Prince Philip in the Princess Elizabeth Challenge Cup. Which one of those would you like to start with first of all?
Let me try not to confuse myself. Yes, so let's start with the men.
Yes.
So Teddy Shiplake, which Teddy's won. Another great race, really solid. I think those Teddy's boys looked just a bit more, a bit more kind of confident.
A bit more lively in the boat. They do look more confident.
Yeah. So again, it's about getting that mentality right, isn't it? Going in, doesn't really matter who the favourites are. You've got to go out with confidence and a little bit of arrogance, and see where it takes you.
A bit of swagger to them. It means the defending champions in the Princess Elizabeth Challenge Cup, they go out on the Friday to St Edwards, who are back in a weekend performance. And Shiplake, as we know, started the season so well, so strong at schools, head of the river, slipped back in the medals at national schools, and now out on the Friday of Henley Royal Regatta. But Zoe, we talked about the boys, we can talk about the girls now. In the Prince Philip, the script reversed, didn't it?
Oh yes, with our scripts and reversing.
Yeah, we've flipped the script, we've reversed it now.
Yes. So Shiplake beat Teddy, so they went the other way round, and they looked good doing it. But for me, it's the other side of the draw.
Yeah.
In the Prince.
Yeah, nice, very nice. Speaking of the Prince Philip, what about the Americans, Chris? They're looking sublime, aren't they?
Yeah, two crews through to the you look at me funny. Two crews through to the semi-finals.
Just my face.
Yes, you always look a bit funny, don't you? Scotsman do that. That's why they pay you the big bucks. Funny looking face. Was two American crews through to the semi-finals. We've got Romeka Rye against Headington. That is going to be an absolute humdinger. They did identical times to the barrier and the Fawley markers. My money's on Headington. My fantasy team's on Headington. They're not the popular pick on fantasy. Shiplake are. I think there's been some rumours around. I've heard some whispers around the boat park, people likening this Headington crew to St Paul's 2018 in the Princess Elizabeth. And it's a difficult comparison to make because if they win, they win, right? But they have really stamped their authority in this event in recent years. They set more records just yesterday or the other day. They broke their own Henley women's course record, by 5 seconds in completely flat conditions. They are going to be tough to beat, but Romeka Rye, they looked very, very classy and were not pushed very hard in their matchup today, and that's going to be... I'll do you a favour, race of the day tomorrow.
Race of the regatta, potentially.
There we go. We also, the pick of the day, one of the picks of the day was always going to be LEH against Chicago. And what a performance. The Americans march on, having taken down LEH. Sorry.
Yeah, I think Chicago looked good. LEH looked good. But I still then, looking at them compared to the Headington Rye and the Romeka Rye side of the draw, or the Ryes versus the Ryes, I just think that that's the side that is going to win. Whatever happens tomorrow, I think that's going to be our event winner. That's my call. Yeah,
we've got interviews coming from Chicago and from Romeka Rye, but what I want to do first of all is just throw back all the way to yesterday, just after tea break, because Clare's Court School took down Hinksey Sculling School. Hinksey with a selected crew. I think probably race of the regatta, maybe. One of the best races I've seen in recent years at Henley. Clare's Court had a phenomenal performance to roll them down and beat them by a bow ball. I think it was about having been down for the entire course.
Did we get bow ball as the margin? Because that's new this year.
You get it from me.
We had a 6 inches earlier on. Maybe that was the 6 inches.
It might have been less than that.
I think they were only leading on the last 2 strokes.
It was unbelievable.
Only strokes that count.
Exactly. But we mentioned the interviews that we've got coming up, and that is of course from Romeka Rye and from Chicago, and we can hear from both of those programs just now.
How has Henley been? How's it sort of been progressing through the regatta, kind of building through to the weekend now? Just sort of run us through how the experience has been so far.
I think it's been really good. I think the week that we had prior to racing to practice was fabulous, and I think the fact that we were able to get seeded, is it called, or able to go to the next round without having to have the first race was a big, beneficial moment for us. We got an extra rest day. We got more practice in. It was really good.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's been magical. I mean, the venue's gorgeous. I love the spectacle around rowing here. I think it's really fun and a different speed than what we're used to in the U.S. as well, which is cool.
And through the weekend, tomorrow's going to be a great race up against Headington. Yeah. Sort of run us through the race today and how good it was to kind of have that opportunity to maybe ease off the gas a little bit as well.
Yeah. I think today's race, we needed a little bit of a confidence boost, but not anything cocky. I think that lengthening out and finding a really strong stride below the base was great, because now we can enhance all of that at the base and find ourselves a really strong rhythm before Headington tomorrow, which I think will be good.
Yeah, I think today was what Molly said, a good confidence boost as well. I think our boat rode really well together. We were super consistent and just clean today, which was good. So I'm excited for tomorrow's race. It should be really fun.
First time over at Henley for Chicago. What have you made of the experience so far through the weekend? So exciting, right?
Yeah, it's definitely different from anything that we've ever done. Coming into this experience, we had no idea how this was going to unfold, but now we know that we truly belong here. It's a fun race.
And how different is it out on the water compared to everything that you've done over in the United States?
I mean, I would say first things first, it's beautiful here. The water is beautiful. We too row in a river, and Henley is nothing like where we rowed home. It's honestly amazing. I've never seen anything like it.
Thank you so much to Row America Rye and Chicago for your time earlier on today, and congratulations for advancing through to the semi-finals of the Prince Philip Challenge Cup. Now though, let's talk student racing, because across the island, the tempo and the Prince Albert Challenge Cup has just been sensational today. And Zoe, let's probably start with the smallest of the boats first. Great day for Oxford, great day for Newcastle, wasn't it?
Yes, I thought Oxford looked great this morning. I was really impressed with them, and I think, I do think even getting to Sunday would, ideally a win, would be really good for that programme. It needs a bit of a kick, doesn't it? And I think that 4 looked really, really solid.
Yeah, they did. Also advancing, as I said, Newcastle, they beat Brooks, Cambridge beat Imperial, and Triton beat Oxford B. And that rounds out the PA. And again, I think it's in a position where I think any of those 4 crews could still win it, which is very, very exciting. But speaking of exciting, Christopher McCarthy, Temple Challenge Cup. Goodness gracious, what an event that's been this year. It's
been great. I don't think we've had any real bow ball to bow ball sort of racing yet, but it's been very fascinating matchups to watch it go through.
And high caliber crews.
Very high caliber crews, and I think we now know the top 4 crews. I don't think that's different to the top 4 crews that we thought were going to be in this event. However, the issue was when we were all doing our Fantasy Henley picks on Monday night, not Zoe. Zoe doesn't do Fantasy Henley. Just hates it. Sorry, Ian. She will do it next year. She has promised.
I don't hate it. I just forgot.
Yes. We were discussing between Cambridge, Oxford Brooks, Nearhouse, and Washington. Yeah. And who's in the semi-finals? Cambridge, Oxford Brooks, Nearhouse, Washington.
Who's your pick?
I've got Brooks in my fantasy team.
Well, I picked Cambridge.
Because you love Matt Edge.
Because I love Matt Edge.
Does he know that?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, good.
He does. But I think I have witnessed what Nearhouse have done on the water. I think they just look so class. And we just watched Washington just disassemble Syracuse, who have been phenomenal all season. 4th for them at the IRAs, and this Washington crew that's been assembled, there's a mismatch of some of their crews. Washington just looks so good.
They looked much punchier and much more aggressive, I think. For me, that was the thing I noticed. It's the biggest difference between the crews.
Yeah, I fully agree. And it didn't look like a crew that had been mismatched together. It looked like a crew that had been rowing together for the whole year. And that's kind of credit to how a lot of these college programs work, the sort of technical model and chop and changing and all the rest of it. But Washington do it so well. And that has really paid off for them in the context of Henley.
Yeah, it's difficult. We're going to have a British crew in the final. We're going to have an overseas crew in the final, because Washington will face Nearhouse and Brooks are going to face Cambridge. And I think both of those matchups are just sublime, absolutely sensational. On the island side of thing, speaking of Washington, big win for them over Cambridge. But Chris, I think what was really impressive was Durham's performance over Ehir, if I can get my pronunciation right. I don't think I've quite got enough oomph to it.
Very similar to the Washington performance. Durham just looked the classier crew, and I think kudos to them. I didn't actually follow it that closely, Fergus, I'm sorry, but I did watch it and I thought that they looked fantastic. And I think that's it's a real credit to their program.
Yeah. Just on the other side of the draw. So that means we've got Durham against the University of Washington, I believe, because Washington beat Cambridge A. Brooks, I can't remember if Brooks have raced Cambridge B or not, but Brown,
Yes, they have.
They have, and Brooks won. And Brown beat the University of London. So we're going to have Brown against Brooks, and we're going to have Washington against Durham. Sensational once again. There's a couple of other results that I just want to chuck into the mix before I come to both of you for what you're looking ahead to. I think in the Princess Royal, great wins for Magdalena Lobnik and Lauren Henry, both of them getting their campaigns up and running. I thought Washington looked great in the Town Challenge Cup. I've shouted out Clare's Court. I can tick that one off the list. And the other one, I thought from the Hambledon pairs, shout out to the Italians, Mariano and Codado, because they have beaten the record that Grace Prendergast and Kerry Gowler previously set here at Henley Royal Regatta. They look very good. And I thought a bit of an upset because the Dutch combination beat Oxford University, who won Henley Women's, and that means they're out in the first round of the pairs.
Yeah, and they were one of my picks. Not fantasy rowing because I didn't do it, but, just in my head picks.
Yeah, very good. Well, we'll wait and see what the Dutch can do in the next round of competition. But Chris, let's look ahead to tomorrow's semi-finals day, Saturday. What are you looking forward to?
I think nothing that we haven't touched on already. I think the junior and the student events are the pick at the moment. The temple, that is just tantalising. That it could be, the draw could be completely shuffled around, and I think those 4 crews, no matter what, unless they face each other on the Friday, they're making the final. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. Those are the top 4 crews in the event, and I think if the races were flipped around and, for example, so we've got Cambridge and Brooks. If we had Cambridge versus near us or Brooks versus them or Washington, whatever, any combination of those 4 crews is 2 incredible races. And I think particularly I'm really looking forward to the Brooks-Cambridge race. 2 crews with a lot of gusto and that we know will race hard. And someone run in front of us.
Someone just ran straight from Ed's face. It's just glorious.
If you're watching us on YouTube,
Eduardo did not look impressed by that.
And then the other one that we mentioned, that PP semi-final, Headington and Rye. In my opinion, that's the final.
That's going to be brilliant.
And the winner of that, that's winner takes all. Both of them have been right on the money in terms of like in and about or breaking the record pace. And I'll tip Headington, but
I want it to
it's
be
going to be
Headington.
good. I want it to be Headington.
Yeah.
Nice, very nice. Zoe, anything else you're looking forward to tomorrow?
That's my main one.
That's your main one.
That's my main one.
That's your main one.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. I'm going to pick one for later on for today. So depending when this podcast comes out, it may or may not have happened, but Windsor Boys going up against Sir William Borlase in the Foley Challenge Cup, I think will be epic. I can't wait to see what Marlow Rowing Club can do in the semi-finals of the Diamond Jubilee.
And in the Thames.
Yeah. 2, I think, great matchups
really
coming in the Thames.
good cruise from Marlow.
Marlow in the Thames
Yes.
have
exceeded all expectations?
Yes.
By the time this comes out, they will have raced, so I may look like an idiot. But the last 2 days, very quietly, Marlow have been the only crew that's consistently been a couple of seconds quicker than everyone else to the barrier and the Foley.
Yeah. I really rate that Marlow crew.
Yeah, they've kind of flown under the radar, I think, a little bit. Really exceeded
But not
expectations.
your radar.
Not anymore, because
Not your radar.
I've figured it out,
You've
haven't I?
clocked
By the time this comes out, they would have been spanked or something, and I'm going to look like an idiot.
And shout out to their cox, Shauna Fitz. Like, she has just been really on the money. She knows what she's talking about. She knows the course. She's a smart cookie.
Yeah, fantastic. So much to look forward to. I think we've got the Italian world champion winning world champions. I can't speak
Are
anymore.
you okay?
No, I've lost it all. They won the world championships last year. They won the Olympics as well. They're coming into the mix, and it's semi-finals day. What more is there to like here at Henley Royal Regatta? But that's it for today's episode of The End of the Island live from Tea Break. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time at The End of the Island.